That's correct. And international or even federal security forces. We did a story yesterday. The new Public Safety Commission, or the commission, has named a former Department of Homeland Security head for 4 years under Rick Perry as the head of the Department of Public Safety. And I've got people inside DPS, Deborah, and they're telling me some horrifying things about their new orientation. This does not bode well for freedom lovers here in Texas, and I'm surprised they're even taking it. But a lot of this stuff that Perry is working with just slips right under the radar. It doesn't get reported. It's not out there. It's going to be up to us, your campaign, to bring these things to the surface, and we're going to get a major education on what this guy's been up to for the last 6 to 8 years.
Well, I think you're right. You're talking about earlier, getting some attention on this campaign, not just attention across the state of Texas, but national attention. And if we remember back to Ron's campaign, it was that remember the 5th of November money bomb that all of a sudden people went, oh, there's something happening here. I've been saying for months there's something happening here in Texas. And, those $25, $50, and $100 contributions will add up quickly. We don't need that $5 million money bomb, but we get a significant bomb tomorrow, and it will allow others who have maybe thought, I'm not sure she can do this, to begin to believe and dream and hope for freedom. And that is powerful. We know it's powerful. We saw how powerful it was in the presidential election. It swept the country. And if we can keep that dream alive here in Texas, and tomorrow is a great opportunity to do that, I think we will really see encouragement coming from all over the United States.
And don't we need you in these debates. Of course, Debra is running as a Republican for the Republican primary, which is next March, and we need to get that momentum, and we need to get her in these debates. And one way they hold candidates like Debra out of the debates, and it's completely BS, as we all know, but as they say, they don't have enough poll numbers. They're not relevant enough of a candidate. And the only way you can do that is by spreading your message and getting it out to what we call top-of-mind awareness. And the only way you can do that is by funding it. So we've got to – it's going to be interesting, Debra. That is, to me, something I'm really looking forward to, seeing you debate Kay Bailey and Rick Perry, both national figures getting national attention, and you, little old Debra Medina, the candidate of the people – going up there and exposing their misdeeds, because that's the plan, isn't it, Debra? You're not going to be holding back.
I'm not going to be holding back. I am working really hard. At the in the Fed rallies that were November a year ago, I said, are we ready to do the mental heavy lifting? This is about more than standing on a street corner and waving a sign. It's about doing the hard work, the study that needs to be done to really understand public policy and champion those things that will return us to freedom. I frequently say I wonder if we would recognize, and I know your listeners do, recognize a socialist policy or a Marxist policy when we see one. And that requires study and diligence, and I'm spending every minute that I can. I'm glad I'm a prolific reader and have had a number of interesting individuals and talented, educated folks from not only within Texas but around the country sending me data, stepping up to help on policy teams. I'd like a little more time to study, but I'm ready to take on Kay and Rick whenever the time avails itself to be able to do that. It is absolutely important that we get into those debates, and we're looking forward to being able to do that. They're not even in your league, Debra. Continue to study and learn more, but they're not even in your league. And here's the problem: when you're a perpetual liar like they are, and she didn't say that, I did. You can't remember your lies. So it's very easy to talk when, as Ron Paul did, when you're telling the truth and you're just basing your language off the Constitution. And that is something they're going to have a really hard time defending. By the way, they call it sustainable development now economically, and that is where capitalism merges into socialism. Merkel, Sarkozy, Medvedev, the leaders of the world have decided this is the way forward. Our leaders here in this country have sold us out, but we still have autonomy within the states, at least last time I checked, and we've got to protect Texas. We have to, or we're going to end up getting the same central planning that they're getting in China. it was the very first policy thing that I did as a candidate for governor, and I think those that are close to me will attest to the fact that I said, running a campaign is very important, but what's equally important is that I'm prepared to govern in January of 2011, and that economic policy team was the first one launched. It's been working since March, works diligently, has done a lot of work, and is beginning to bring to light this notion that we don't really have a balanced budget in Texas. We've got the 13th largest economy in the world. We'd have the 6th largest gold reserve if we'd put some of our assets into gold, and yet we have a state that's in debt that's nearly tripled, while Governor Perry has talked about what fine economic condition we're in. We are in better shape than many states, but we have spent every dime we've taken in, and our debt has grown from $12 billion in 2000 to over $31 billion today.
Yeah, we're going the way of California if we don't put the brakes on here. 13th largest economy in the world, folks, here in Texas. I guess we should be part of the G20 then at that point.
We have an opportunity as a state with 10th Amendment standards, standing up as a sovereign state. There are a number of things that we can do to create a shield, to create a hedge around this economy. A lot of that has to do with checking the federal government at the border and saying you're not coming into our state. We're going to nullify these overreaching federal mandates that you're shoving at us. We're going to interpose on laws that already exist. We are going to stop the federal government at our borders when it reaches beyond the Constitution. Here in Texas, we've got to get the state government doing what state governments ought to be doing, and that is not providing health care. Health care provision eats up a third of the budget in the state of Texas. We have doubled our spending on health care. We're not regulating health care as a state or licensing it. We are actually delivering the service, the same thing that people are concerned about Washington, D.C., doing, we have been doing here in Texas, doubled our spending in health care in the last 8 years. Physicians, other providers in the state will say, I'm having to compete for business with the state of Texas. That's not right. We've got to get government out of the delivery business. And there are a number of areas in the state where the state government has embedded itself in our private lives and in our communities and in our businesses. If we back the government out where it ought to be, allow families and individuals to be responsible for themselves, allow communities and churches to step in where there are needs, and limit the role of government to the administration of justice, we will see freedom. We will see an economic engine begin to run in a way that none of us can hardly imagine, and we will lead the country.
Yeah, you're a registered nurse. I assume you're qualified to comment on government health care. Also a businesswoman, a rancher, a fighter. One of Debra Medina's relatives died in the Revolutionary War, fought in the Revolutionary War. Another died at the Dawson Massacre near San Antonio fighting to preserve Texas independence. I think they would be very proud of you. I want to be proud of my audience. You get out, you tell everybody, and you get this message out. The Debra Medina bomb is all day tomorrow. Medina for Texas. And she is. MedinaForTexas.com. I got you all the way, Debra, and I know this is going to go great. Everybody, dig deep for tomorrow. Thank you, Debra, for joining us, and good luck on all your interviews today as you travel around the state. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Jack.
We'll be right back, folks.